Okay, so there's been a little bit of an interesting situation going on with the streamer Denims and talking about VTubers and stuff to do with Guna bait. Now, I thought this was a very interesting clip as, Denims speaks a lot about multiple different things and isn't very liked in the community by a lot of people, right? And, well, I could kind of understand it, but I don't really watch her content, so I don't really, understand her that much. But I saw this clip that came out of her speaking about VTubers and a person who was following VTubers, which I thought was very just like weird and interesting, as there was a lot of kind of hypocrisy and other kind of comments that she made here, which is extremely damaging to a lot of these VTubers in this space, which I just kind of wanted to cover and talk about. So let's just play this clip and then we'll talk about the situation.
But, anyone can turn their life around. Anyone.
Bear in mind, for context, by the way, that she is talking to someone in her chat who is like rage baiting her, right? And obviously she pulled up their logs and everything to do with that.
Oh, sorry, not you. I changed my mind. Listen, I love VTubers, but it's a special type of mental derangement when it's someone that follows exclusively VTubers and also asmongold. This is not a good sign. Followed asmongold, right? Following Rich Campbell, okay. Then followed asmongold's other account, Hyperfan, and that wasn't enough, by the way. He's also following, where is it? Asmongold 24/7. He needs his asmongold, okay?
So yeah, she like focuses on a little bit on asmongold, which again, many people have different opinions on asmongold, and I think that's okay, right? But again, then she starts going to VTubers as well.
He needs his mold. And then was like, discovered Iron Mouse and was like, discovered, it seems like a couple of VTubers before then, actually. He's been on his VTuber grind for...
Yeah, you can see here that they're following, like, Vidal, and they're following The Fallen Shadow, Obi Kitty Cat, you got Chibi Doki, Kason.
Forever, a lot of Asian people. Bunny X, respect, real, recognize, real. And then was like, you know what, dude? Yeah, let's just... It's time to goon, okay? Time to just VTube goon. So true. 3D women suck. None of them ever have loved me in my life, so it's okay.
Which I think is pretty crazy, as she's got people like, Iron Mouse on the screen. I mean, I can understand for some people, as well as like Onigiri as well. They make the least like goony content, and I think it is pretty insane to be saying like, oh, he just all of a sudden thought it's time to VTube goon. I think that's pretty insane. Obviously, yeah, there's like some VTubers in this list who do create content or lean into that kind of side of content, right? But I do think it is pretty unfair to say that, VTubing as a whole is, related to like Guna bait or Guna
one of
type
these
stuff.
VTubers, they're the only things that can ever love me. Goon time, goon. Oh, and he's following the Nazi gooner bait, obviously. This guy doesn't know when he's being pandered to. And he's like, goon, goon. Oh, look, and he's following the Nazi rat VTuber too. Goon.
So yeah, then she goes on to call VTubers, that word, which again, I'm not sure if I could say too often on this video, so I won't say it, but you guys heard exactly what she called them, which I think is pretty insane, especially, it's just one of these words that gets, used way too often now. I think, calling someone that is pretty insane. I think you are pretty crazy if you think that someone is a literal, Nazi for, some of their opinions online and things. Because again, I think there is obviously real life Nazis out there, but I don't think, some random VTuber online is one of them. And yeah, people are getting way too comfortable using that term for literally anybody that they dislike.
Goon, time to goon. And now he's here. That's so sad for you. That is really tough. That's really tough. That's a brutal life you lead, man. I hope one day you can find a friend. I don't think it's possible for you. I think it's too late for you, man. I think it's too late. I think it might be too late. And then he's also so stupid. He can't come up with like anything to come back with. Like he can't even come up with an insult. His insult is just at himself saying, I love my gooning VTubers. Do you freak?
So yeah, obviously, I think it is pretty interesting that, this clip has been going around and Denims has been kind of saying this stuff about VTubing because as we covered in the recent BBC News article, video type thing that they made on VTubing, I said that it was really good that they were showcasing the kind of, wholesome side of the VTubing community, that it's not just this weird, like, sexual thing that some people think it's not. it's far from it, right? And it was good to see mainstream news covering this and kind of showing people that it isn't, right? But it seems like obviously Denims was contributing to the kind of generalization of a lot of VTubers by saying that they're all just Guna VTubers, which I think is pretty hypocritical whenever you consider, obviously she says, it says Denims calls Kyosha Nasi Guna bait, but she posts pictures like this. She says she also calls a bunch of other VTubers Guna bait too. The levels of self-awareness are non-existent. And yeah, this is the type of post that Denims posts to kind of, I guess get attention towards her OnlyFans, which I think is pretty insane. Obviously, it's okay to call things Guna bait and whatever and dislike it. Like, sure, that's totally fine. But whenever you're posting this kind of stuff over on your Twitter, especially you're kind of like begging for money for your lawsuit in this one, I think it's pretty weird, I think it is actually insane that, someone has gone on and, tried to bash someone for liking Guna stuff, which half the VTubers on there aren't even associated like with any kind of stuff like that, right? But then you go on your Twitter and, essentially just show off your body for money, and you're saying that you have any grounds to stand on to, say this kind of stuff. Of course not, and I think it is incredibly funny and incredibly weird that she has done this. And obviously, one of the VTubers actually responded to this by saying, "Why am I known as the Nazi rap VTuber? What is going on?" Which is pretty insane, a lot of these people have been catching strays, like they're just continuing on with whatever they do, the content that they do, and they just got like Denims here calling them Guna bait and saying that they're Nazis and things. Bro, it's like every single person that Denims dislikes, she calls this. And I think it is pretty insane that is still going on to this day and people still allow her to do that. Now, obviously, people in the comments be like, pivot equals goon bait, 0 out of 10 rage bait. Obviously, a lot of people are not happy about this. They said she's a dumb fuck, Hassan Orbiter, disregard, that who is Hassan Avi? They say Kyosha is the Nazi Guna bait and you're just the Nazi rat. The Tods really don't deserve you. So again, obviously, a lot of people have been discussing this in the community because I do think it is a pretty insane kind of statement to make about a lot of other VTubers, and generalizing them obviously becomes extremely harmful to the space. And, she's saying that she likes VTubers as much as the next person, right? But you clearly don't if you don't understand, the fact that half of these VTubers that you're saying are Guna bait aren't even, what you're calling them, which I think is insane. Also, I just want to kind of add this clip in here because, again, it seems like a lot of VTubers are kind of replying to this, including Chacha saying, Denim pointed at me and said time to goon, which I think is quite funny. And obviously, they are trying to kind of make it seem like all of these VTubers are like Guna VTubers, which I think is so weird. And obviously you got like Kitsu as well in the comments saying, I don't want to goon to my mom, which is 100% true. And a lot of people have been kind of commenting on this, and it seems like more and more VTubers are starting to see this clip and are calling out the behavior, which I think is very interesting. Now you got people like, for example, like Pippa, like Kyosha, like Iron Mouse, like actually I don't know about Lena. I haven't really watched much of her content, but I know like people like Lucy Pyre and Shy Lily and stuff. They do some kind of goony content, which I think is okay. You got Kason, for example. I mean, if you count her IRL stuff, if you disregard her IRL stuff, then she doesn't really. And obviously you got Chibi Doki, completely far from it. Same with Vidal as well, and Nurosama, completely far from it. So again, obviously, she's completely wrong in the statement that she is that they are following a lot of Guna bait VTubers, which I think is insane. And I think obviously, as I said, it is extremely hypocritical that she has posts like this and is making fun of someone for that. Now obviously they say it is very interesting how Denims does a little jealous slip here. They said very threatened by VTubers, and she doesn't point out the ultimate goon follow Amaranth. Notice it is only gooning derogatory when it's for anime, but for Denims, who posts her own sloppy, low-effort body online, doesn't call out the people for following her for her embarrassing simp bait. The woman being sued and who is a giant lolcow who can't even get help from her rich bestie Hassan, real friend that one, wants to give life advice about gooning while trying to pander to gooners. Already feeling that your prime leaving you, mad the anime woman will stay youthful forever, never sag, never stretch, always flawless in their physics. They never have to worry about getting fat or looking bad because they are just cute fictional creatures voiced by pleasant sounding people. No bad angles, just good vibes. The audience would never watch Denims anyway. The little flush bag isn't a threat to them the way Denims feels threatened by VTubers, and I find that hilarious, which is 100% true. You know, it seems like she feels very offended by the fact that a lot of VTubers are obviously succeeding, very much so, and even if they do that kind of content right, they are doing it better than she can. And I think that is why she feels so offended and why she's so kind of, I guess, aggressive towards a lot of these VTubers and this person who obviously enjoys watching VTubers, as well as a plethora of other content creators. You know, VTubers are very, very common in the space now, that you are going to have a lot of VTubers in your follow list, or like a lot of people do just kind of watch VTubers as just another content creator. They might not be a big VTuber fan, but they obviously do enjoy some of the content that some VTubers put out, and that's also an extremely valid kind of fan as well. And you can see here they are also following many other people other than VTubers. If anything, actually I don't know if it's the majority, but again, there is a lot of IRL kind of streamers as well. Obviously they just follow Denims. We got like Gideon, Luke Stevens TV, Kachi, Renna, again Hannah Wins. There's so many other people here that they're following, right? But obviously they don't want to bring that up, and yeah, they just want to kind of, I guess, attack this person for liking VTubers, which I think is pretty insane. And again, I just thought this is a pretty insane situation, because, you know, it's just unnecessary. You don't need to be kind of calling someone out for this, especially when the content you create on Twitter is pandering exactly to that audience. So again, I just thought it was incredibly cringe and just kind of weird. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameSubs, use my code Kazza, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Again, you know, I definitely recommend going to go check it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.